Hey guys, welcome back to Bobby and Cece. Today we are bringing you, as requested, well I guess not requested, as I stated, we are going to be comparing the Cover Effects duo to the e.l.f. duos. So, if you are excited for that, like and subscribe and all those things. Just do all the things. We'll get into it.
Mind you, starting this off, I only own one of the Cover Effects duos, so sorry if you were excited for any other color besides Warm Honey, because she ain't happening today. I only have the one. So we have, I think, every single one of the e.l.f. ones they make?
No, I only bought 5 of them.
Okay, how many
there are 8 of them total.
Okay.
I only purchased, so like I said in my video, which will already be up by the time you'll see this, I only purchased the ones that I would wear since I'm buying them. I mean, they're only $3, so it's not that big of a deal. However, I don't need more stuff just like hanging out in my pile because I have so many things already in there.
That is also the only reason we have one of the Cover Effects, because there's like a purple one and your girl doesn't wear purple, I wear warm peach, which you will see because we have some other stuff too that are mine that are all the same color.
Right on. All right, so not only are we going to be comparing the two, because obviously that's what most people are saying, oh, this is a dupe alert. We're also going to be talking about the formula of each of these things and what other things are comparable to that formula in case you are interested to know maybe what that texture is before you purchase it. We're going to start with, I have swatches hopefully still left on my arm. We'll see. I mean, I know you won't see because you'll be too busy focusing on CC.
Yeah, they kind of got magic erased earlier from the table.
They did, but it wasn't just the table. I played with a cat. I rolled around on the floor for a little while. Like, it is what it is.
With that being said, the first thing that Bobby said when she noticed this was that my Cover Effects one, if you look at the Cover Effects one, you see that, so this is the regular blush side and this is like the shimmer side. She was in full thought that this was supposed to be highlighter. I would just like to say, if you've had any thought about getting this one in particular, this is not supposed to be a highlighter. It's not marketed as one. It's supposed to be the shimmer topper to this blush, which is why they're very similar. So it has a sheen, but if I tip it down, see how it's almost the same color? So they're supposed to be used separately, or you can layer them on top, which if you look at, this one's the closest. If you look at the e.l.f. one, like there's a distinct difference, like that's supposed to be a highlighter. So please don't go into this thinking that this is going to be an exact dupe, because that's what Bobby thought, and that's what I was also under the impression of, and it is not.
It's not. They're completely different products. So your Cover Effects one is going to be blush only, at least the color that she has. Now, I have also played with other colors while at Ulta. I have done makeup for other people and used them on them, and all of them, in my opinion, are too dark to use on somebody who is fair like I am, and most of the people who come to Ulta to get their makeup done, they're fair like I am. Now, I did use one of these ones. It wasn't this one. It was the one that's a little bit more reddy, like reddish, I guess. And I did use that on a darker complected gal. And the other side, the blush topper, like the one that goes with it, was too dark for her to wear as a highlighter. It just did not complement her skin tone whatsoever.
Right.
So I guess I wasn't under the impression that this was going to be like a highlighter and a blush, but I thought this was going to be like, let me just open this here. I thought this was going to be lighter than it is. Does that make sense? So maybe not necessarily a highlighter for everybody, but it was supposed to be a highlighter for somebody, which, I mean, I guess if you are like hella dark, it might be a highlighter for you, but I don't know that tone would suit you.
Yes, and here's the thing that I was going to say that goes with that. There's a dark purple, which I talked about. I want to insert a picture of it because that is the one that's meant for deep skin tones. But if you look at the purple highlight side, it's still too dark to be like,
right.
Like for this example, this would be great as a medium to like deep colored highlighter, except for when you get into the deep range, this no longer works as a blush. So that's a problem. Whereas like on that deep, like the dark purple one, okay, you might be able to use the highlighter, but then are you able to use the blush with it? Like if you're trying to use it as a multi-purpose product. because they're really close in tone.
Right.
So once you get dark enough for the highlight to be a highlight, the blush is almost too light to be an adequate blush.
Right, and then you'd have to pair it with something else, which would make it like why?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like why would you just go out of your way to purchase that? The Cover FX one is $38. So of all of the ones that we're going to talk about, it is actually the most expensive, which I think is why people were wanting the e.l.f. one to be a dupe for it. But not only in product, like standard blush is a blush and a blush topper versus a blush and a highlighter. Product wise, like the texture, the way that you touch it, the way you feel it, the way you use it, not the same.
Not at all.
They don't feel anything like each other. They don't even apply the same.
Yeah. So
I am actually wearing the Cover FX The Warm Honey Blush on my cheeks right now. And I used the coconut. And I used the coconut one of the e.l.f. one as a bronzer, which it's a little bit on the red side. So if you are worried about that, don't use it as a bronzer. I thought it looked fine. I think it looks fine as like a light bronzer. Or like if you are a very blush person, like they have like a style of where you only blush your face and you don't use any bronzer or anything called draping. This would be a really nice color for that in my opinion, especially for somebody who is a little deeper complected than I am. Somebody who's a little warmer.
Side note, if you like Dallas from Benefit, that's almost the exact same color and it comes with a highlighter and they stopped making Dallas. So if you miss that color, that's very similar.
All right. Look at that. Or we got a dupe, but not the one everybody was saying.
Because Dallas is used for draping. That's what it's for. So
yeah, it's a little more on the pinky side, but it is beautiful. I totally 100% love it. I think that this is a really great product, and I have worn these e.l.f. ones. I have been using them every day since I got them so that I would have a really good, well-informed opinion to share with you guys once I got more of an opinion on this Cover FX one, so I could really say if there was, some duping action. The answer is no. There's no tubing action. There's none.
As someone who purchased this, I use it on my face. I've also used it at work. I like it for what it's supposed to be. And if you're not going in with the mentality of this is what this product is supposed to be, because I bought it knowing that sometimes I want to use a shimmery blush and sometimes I want to use a matte blush in the same colors or together. That's why I bought it. Because as we'll talk about in a minute, I have this Nars Loose Orgasm, which is just the shiny part, and I wanted it to be together and not loose. So it's great if you're going in knowing that you're looking for not a highlighter, but a shiny blush. It's beautiful for that, because there's not a lot of other products that I've run into that are this shiny of a blush, and it's used for a blush, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I would agree with that.
With the value, because some people are like, $38, let's get e.l.f. If you're looking for it specifically for this, that's why I find that there's a little bit of value in that, because there's not a lot of other products made like this.
Right. So if you're like an everyday matte blush, but some days I want to go and have a really beautiful, well-formulated blush that is a little on the shinier side, that would be a really good option for you. Mm-hmm. But if you are I only wear matte blush girl, then probably don't buy that.
Yeah, not worth your time at all. Get the e.l.f. one and just get a highlighter with it.
Right, and then just get the highlighter with it. And and here's the other thing. When you are looking at a 38, if you think about, 38, it's like, what, $18 or like $20 or whatever, however much money it is, $19 per blush if you break it in half. And that's actually, I would say, really fair for a single blush. I mean, that's even probably a little under on the Cover FX ones. So because Cover FX is a higher end brand, so that actually is a really good price point. But also in the duos,
if we're going duos, especially duos that are almost the same colors.
So this duo also Cece's, by the way, because Cece likes this. This is what Cece likes. As you can see, she liked this. And just this color of blush, this one right here, it just screams Cece's name.
It's beautiful.
These are the ones when I go to the store and I find blushes, I'm like, this one is a Cece blush. This one's too pink. It's this one. This one is a Cece blush. Yeah. Because you just know. Now you guys are going to go to the store and be like, this one's a Cece blush. Oh, this one's a Bobby blush. Mm-hmm. My favorite one is actually the one I think Cece would like the best too. Spiced Apple is the cutest one. And the highlighter's even good. I digress. So this one is very similar. It is, so most matte blushes, and I don't even know if this is completely matte. This seems satiny.
They have a little sheen.
Have a similar texture. Mm-hmm. So if you're feeling this texture, if you're feeling this texture of blush, like this duo, it will feel similar to the Cover FX one. Now, as far as staying power, this would be something Cece would know more about.
So for me, this one being, this is the Jouer, by the way. It is the Cheeky Summer, and this has another color to it. So if you don't like this color story, there's different colors. But They're relatively almost the exact same colors, just this one they're both have a sheen, but they're not like, neither of them are completely matte, neither are completely shiny. They are a little bit creamier feeling, not wet, but they feel like they're a little bit oilier. It's not super, super oily though. So if you are an oily skin type, it lasts okay. And if you're dry, it adds a nice hydrated look to the skin. That wears pretty much the exact same as this. They wear the same. I don't see a lot of difference between them wear-wise. I will say though, they're almost the exact same amount of product, and this one I think is $4 cheaper, $5, maybe $6. As I think this one's
yep, 32.
So if you're looking for, if you don't give a crap about the shininess, if you're looking for similar colors and like a duo, this is a better option in my personal opinion, because less money, same amount of product.
Right. I agree with all the things that she said. But as far as duos, we don't have any more duos to show you, but I do know that they do make duos in a lot of other brands. And like I said before, most of these blush formulas feel very similar. The higher end ones all feel very similar. The lower end ones also feel very similar, but you can definitely tell like that this one, for instance, when you rub it, it does have kick up. So you can definitely tell this is a powderier formula.
Right.
But again, $3. So if you got nothing else, you need a blush and a highlighter, you have $5 whole to your name and you need something, I would recommend this because it does actually stay. So I did do a wear test, which is in the comments part of my video on this specific one, but I went running because who doesn't go running in makeup? Apparently. I just needed it to leave it on all day, and it turned out I needed to go running. So I went running in it with my dog, and I was sweaty and gross, and you know how you sweat on your upper lip? Maybe you don't. You're so lucky. I do. And so you could, like, I could feel, like, the wet from the sweat on my face, and after I was all done, I walked in the house looking nasty. My hubby's like, your face still looks really good. And it was $3. It was a $3 elf, and it was on for a total of 6 hours. I went running at the end of that, so I feel like going on walks and it's super nasty humid outside, especially if you know about the Midwest where we're like super humid all the time. Super humid, crazy, nasty hot outside. It was just the combination. I feel like wears your makeup very heavily. So if I can go running in it in super humid hot weather with my dogs after 6 hours and it's still on, like at least there's that.
I will say though, the quality of them are not the same.
Not.
Whereas with the Cover FX ones, if you were looking for consistency, they all consistent. They all do. I've touched every single one of them. They all wear the same. But the e.l.f. ones, we were touching them. Holy banana pudding. I don't know. Some of these are very chunky when it gets to the highlighter side.
Yeah, the highlighters, in my opinion, there are better. Okay, Wet n Wild makes really great highlighters that are not chunky like this. So if you're not looking to buy a duo and you're looking for a single highlighter and you're like, oh, well, I really like that e.l.f. blush and I'm just going to get it because it's $3 and you're interested in it. They're not bad by any means. I can say, though, the coconut one, if you are interested in buying the coconut one because you think that this is the blush color for you, you want to try draping, you want to use this one as a bronzer because it would go really well with your skin tone, and because you know it wears really well, and you're thinking this highlighter is going to do the same, the answer is no. It is so chunky. Out of all of the highlighters, this one is the chunkiest.
Yeah.
It is very, very glittery. It almost falls off if you don't use the appropriate brush, or like I use it to tap it on with my fingers because a brush was just flying it everywhere. And it just, no.
That moves us into another really good point. So something else that kind of is, if you're looking for like a highlighter / blush thingamajig, there's this other one that I have. It's the Nars Orgasm Loose Blush. And it would be a really good alternative for either cause this, okay, so this is $28, but let me tell, I can't even hold it up because it's literally.
Yeah, maybe we can see how shimmery it is. Like, it looks like a highlight, but
so
it's not.
pretty.
It really isn't.
It's a highlighty blush, depending on your skin tone. If you're darker than us, it would work really well for a highlighter, like just a highlighter. But it's $28, except for that this will last you your whole entire life and then someone else's life. Yeah, because you're using like none of it. So if you are a very like glittery, shimmery, highlightery person, this might be a better option, especially if say you didn't want this side and you only wanted this side, it's very similar to this Cover FX side. But my comment of why it's similar to the e.l.f. is if you don't use a specific brush, it will be all over your whole life.
It's sprinkled on the neighbor's life too. Don't forget.
Like, you have a dog,
or a cat.
It'll end up on their fluff, and then you'll never see the end of it. Like, but if you use like a dense brush, which I assume is the better brush to use with something like this, a denser brush so it doesn't fly everywhere, that's the type of brush you want to use with this. Or like I have this one right here. This actually, if you're trying to use it as blush, she's fat, but like what I'll do is I'll take the leftover on the cap and swirl it in it like this and then put it on. So, but good just highlight blush, but does the same thing if you're not careful.
Right. So I tried this with a denser brush, I would say, and it still just went crazy. Like it did, but I think it's because this formula is just not the greatest. Not in this duo. So if you are really into a glittery highlight and you know how to work that glittery highlight, like girl, you do you. But I personally wouldn't suggest this side. But it makes a beautiful eyeshadow. So
does this.
So if you're a sparkly all over the lid kind of girl, this actually does make a really good eyeshadow. So again, if you're like, okay, $3, I'm just gonna give this guy a go. I really want to try this side. Plus, you're not wasting a ton of product because there's not a ton of product in here. There is a ton of product in here because if you truly think about it, I don't even know what the size is. It doesn't say on the back that I can see. It says on the front. This is 0.16 ounces. This is a lot. This is more than you're gonna actually need. Like this, maybe you'll go through this in a year. Like maybe. Like this Nars thing, you'll never go through that.
I've had it for a year and a half now, and nope.
Well, same with most of these products. That's the thing I like about this size specifically, is that if you wanted to try something, it's not as big of a deal if you don't love it, because it was only $3. But also, you spent $3 and it will last you a really long time. Now, I haven't had it for very long, but I also noticed that Cece was saying something about how this one specifically, because I didn't notice it so much in the other ones, but I definitely noticed in this one, she said it's sealing.
Mm-hmm. So if you don't know what sealing is, it's where, so if you've ever looked at your powder product and it looks fine and smooth, and then you put your finger in it and it starts to darken a little bit and get that like little pilly bumpiness, and it looks like it's starting to get wet. Because I know it happens on like eyeshadows if you use them with your finger. It happens with like blushes if you use it, and highlighters with your finger. It'll look like it's starting to like seal, like it's getting a seal on it, like almost like a waxy weird like layer, which this has on it. This one in particular, it's starting to do the bumping thing. You're probably not even gonna be able to see it. It's doing like a bumping thing. So that is the product, the powder product, mixing with your oils from your fingers and then sealing the top layer off. So eventually you're not going to be able to get any product off of it. There is a fix for this though, because we do it all the time at our store. If you have a spoolie and you're finding out that this is not like giving you the payoff it used to, you can literally go in here, and I'm gonna do this on this thing. You can go in here and you can very lightly swirl on the top of this, and it'll take off that top layer that was giving you problems. It's gonna look like you just ran a spoolie through it and that it's never seen, like, she saw some things, but it takes off the sealing.
Oh yeah, it looks darker now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the outside looks a lot better. I mean, obviously you guys can't see what we can see, but if I can get it close enough and it will zoom, let's see. And yeah, there we go. Okay, so I don't know how well you can see like how it's chunking, but on the outside you can see where she ran the spoolie through it. And the outside is a little lighter, and then where the spoolie like went through, it's a little darker because it was breaking up that section that had that oil in it. But it does look hella better than it did. Like it already looks better than it did.
This is also something you can do if you have accidentally left your eyeshadows or like your blushes sitting out in front of a window and it gets sun bleached, and you notice that doesn't look as dark as it used to. You can run your spoolie on it and it'll take off that top layer. That
part of me wonders if we spoolie that festival palette, what will happen.
We should do that.
I was just thinking, because what if it was left out or something like funky?
Right, or if it's like
the
getting
colors
older.
don't match at all.
Mm-hmm. Or if it got like older or something, eventually like the color on the top layer will just start fading off. It happens all the time in like beauty stores. Like you'll notice in beauty stores, you're like, this doesn't look like the picture online. spoolie it off the top part, and it'll probably look like it's supposed to, because it was sitting under those lights. It just got bleached.
Right. If you guys are interested in seeing that, you want to watch us like spoolie off the top layer of each of those pans to kind of see, or maybe like dig deep inside of those things to kind of see if we can't bring the color back to life.
Break up the palette.
We could like break up the palette, but like not as great as Beauty News because we're not Kat and Haley and they're the best. But if you guys are interested in seeing that, please comment down below that you want to see that, because like, for science.
Science.
Makeup science, beauty science, you know. All right, so the last couple things that I'm going to touch on are, so if you have this, Becca, if you have BoxyCharm, you might have gotten one of these guys. This one is the Becca Luminous Blush, and this is in the shade Dahlia. Yes, most beautiful thing ever. You're correct. This is shimmery. Like, it's not shimmery, but it is.
It has a sheen.
It has a sheen to it. It is similar to the one, the like more luminous side of the Cover FX one. Also, however, it is not as shimmery. That is a lot more shimmery than this is.
It's closer to the amount of shimmer the Jouer one has.
I know when you look at it, like especially in the pan, it looks like it would be very, 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 very shimmery, but it's not as shimmery. It's definitely luminous, but this is also comparable. And this Becca one is $34. So if you love this, like let's say you try this out and you know you love this formula and you're gonna wear it every single day of your whole life, $34 for this, in my opinion, 100% worth it. But I would say this is more comparable as in texture and like quality of formula to the Cover FX versus the e.l.f. one.
And I will say I hate the Becca blushes. I love it. Sorry, specifically Jess from my work, if you watch my videos, Flower Child is her favorite blush on planet Earth. I just offended the crap out of her, so I apologize.
This is such a nice formula.
It's because as I was talking with the Jouer one, how it feels a little bit more oily, like it has more oils to keep the shimmers in place. That one has even more oil, so it feels almost like creamy. Oh yeah. And on my face, I am very oily and it just doesn't work for me. Whereas like, for example, my coworker, she's like dry as the Sahara Desert, and she loves it. So I imagine it's because of the skin type
and
difference.
my cheeks are, I would say, dry leaning, like normal leaning dry. Right. My cheeks are. Most of my oil comes into play in the T-zone, which blush doesn't usually hit that. But I can say it does last pretty good over the bridge of my nose. And I do have some oil there, but it is nowhere near the amount of oil that you would get from an oily skinned girl. Like my oils, just they don't oil like Cece's does.
So literally any other option in this video is better than that one for oily
people.
For
oily people, for oily people. Yeah. You know, you're a combo girl, that might still be for you. All right, so then the very last blush that we're going to talk about that's like comparable is the Milani Luminoso blush. And obviously everybody and their mom loves this blush, and rightfully so. I'm sorry, my packaging is like straight crap.
Got mine. Mine looks
been used and abused. She's been around for a long time. I mean, the plastic is coming out. That just shows how great it is. Okay, like still don't want to get rid of it because it's great. But the mound, I've just gotten down the mound. Yeah, usually it's a long time. Yeah, it's like because it's baked. Mm-hmm. So this blush is also luminous, obviously luminoso. But this texture is very, very fine. So I would say that this texture and color payoff feels more like the higher end ones than it does feel like the e.l.f. ones. Yeah. So if you're looking for a drugstore dupe that is a really nice, beautiful, luminous blush, but you don't want to buy the $3 cheap ones, you want something that's maybe has a lasting power of something that's high end, something that has the pigmentation of something that's high end. I would say that this is a really good choice. It is $9.49 at Ulta, but Walgreens said like $4 and some change.
Yeah, so depends on where you go. Target's was like $6.
Yeah, it was like $6.99 or something.
So look around.
Yeah, shop around. Just don't just buy it off like Quince, unless of course you got Ulta points
then buy it there.
But so this one is also a really good like drugstore luminous blush if you're looking for something luminous.
Going from, I guess, the most, like, depending on what sort of finishes you're looking for, the most shiny ones that you're not going to get out of any other things if you're looking for shiny blush are going to be the Nars and the Cover FX. Then it would be like Jouer, Becca, and Milani if you're looking for just the blush portion, and then e.l.f. if you're looking for just the matte blush with a highlighter. Right. So if you're just looking for shimmery blushes, you're better off going really shiny with the Nars and Cover FX, or middle of the road shiny Jouer, Milani, or Becca.
Right. Or, you know, and then your matte ones with e.l.f. And then I can say though, if you have tart blushes feel very similar to the matte side of the Cover FX one, and they regularly come out with blush books.
Yes.
That have many colors. And
highlighters.
And highlighters. The one that I have has 2 highlighters, and then like it's like 2, you open it, it's like circle and circle, and it has a highlighter, and then a bunch of like 5 blushes or whatever, a warm side and a cool side. And those blushes, they have pretty good pigmentation. I would say lasting wise and quality wise, they're not my favorite blushes that there are out there, but they are still pretty good. But I would say that texturally wise, they're similar to the Cover FX matte ones.
Yeah. And
similarly in lasting power. Personally, the Tarte ones, in my opinion, they're a little more expensive than like the e.l.f. ones, so I wouldn't just go out and buy a Tarte blush. I wouldn't, personally, me.
With the Tarte blushes, knowing them with that sealing thing we were talking about, are notorious for doing that, even if you don't put your fingers in them, just so you know. I don't know what it has to be like the clay in that formula that reacts weird to things. So like brush cleaner too, like if you just cleaned your brush and it's not dry all the way, it will frick that up for you immediately.
Right, so those are the times, if you have a Tarte blush that you're like, I need to go and spoolie that guy out, today's the day.
Yeah, so just so you know, they're not my favorite blushes. They're fine, but I find that that's a problem that they have regularly, consistently.
Yes, so.
In conclusion, no dupes were had today. No dupes were found. We did not dig them out of any sort of archive. There was nothing. These are not the same at all.
They are not.
Sorry, e.l.f. Your product's still good, though. Like, you just didn't dupe anybody.
But that's good, because that means you came out with your own product and had your own ideas.
Even if they were mildly stolen, you just executed them maybe wrong. Still did good.
You still did good. We still love. I still love them. Thanks for coming.
If you enjoyed our not so dupey dupes, leave a like. Leave a comment about which one sounded the most interesting to you. Or if you've used any of these and hated something that we didn't hate, or loved something we hated. That's about it.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Also, look forward to...
the rubbing apart palettes with a spoolie.
If we get enough likes and comments, girls, gents, peeps, homies, whatevers. Llamas, whatever. Pineapples. Might as well just throw them all in there like random ass. So anyways, if we get enough likes and comments, we will tear apart that palette. But also, look out for some upcoming news coming up on our Instagrams and on our Facebooks for future-y things that will be featured.
Because we maybe have like cool things that maybe pertain to giving you things.
Yeah, maybe.
If you're good people and like our stuff.
Yeah. All right. All right. Don't forget to like and comment and subscribe. All of the things. And
yeah, this is the longest outro ever. We love you.
We'll delete half of it.
Goodbye.
Bye.